Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Peter Jackson's King Kong from 2005. And I've seen this movie, I think, once before, back when it came out, not in theaters, but I saw it when it was on DVD or something, or just on TV, and I watched it, and I remembered a couple things about it, but not much outside of that. Like, I remembered the ending, but that was about it. And rewatching this movie, I enjoyed it. I had fun, and despite the movie being 3 hours long, I was never bored, to be perfectly honest. And I know a lot of people have a big issue with it being 3 hours long, and I can definitely see that because it does take a while to get from point A to point B. And the biggest criticism I hear is that it takes about an hour to get to the island, and King Kong doesn't actually show up in the movie until an hour and 10 minutes in. I timed that to get the exact timestamp. And once King Kong does show up, the movie is a lot of fun. And if you're looking for an action movie, you are going to have to wait for King Kong to show up like over an hour into the movie. And once the action starts, it literally doesn't stop. It's like action scene after action scene after action scene after action scene, and it is a lot of fun for me. And I liked some of the characters, and I enjoyed some of the performances. I really liked Naomi Watts in this movie and Adrian Brody. Jack Black, I thought he was fine in it. He was trying. I thought he was one of the weakest performances in the movie, but he was never crazy bad. And I thought he was fine for the most part, and his character is probably my favorite in the entire movie, simply because he's just the most interesting, and I always like him lying to people and trying to get things his way, and it's always fun for me. And the first hour of the movie is pretty much just setting up characters and how they get from New York over to Skull Island, and it takes about 20 minutes for our characters to get on the boat, which takes them to Skull Island, and about 30 minutes to actually get to Skull Island. And there are a lot of characters in this movie that this movie introduces, and some of them I like, but most of them are kind of expandable, and I don't really care that much for them. And this movie does feel as though it's kind of wasting time when it does all that, and the movie does give a lot of setup to a lot of characters, but most of them don't really have anything that pays off or has a resolution. And because of that, it does make a lot of the setup feel pointless. And I just wanted to get this right out of the way. I watched the theatrical cuts. This came with two different versions, the extended version and the theatrical version. I watched the theatrical cut. So, just trying to make that clear, because the theatrical is like 3 hours and 7 minutes long, and the extended cut is 3 hours and 20 minutes long. So, not a huge difference, but I just decided to go with the shorter version because that was the one I was familiar with. I thought the special effects, for the most part, looked good. And there are parts that are dated and don't look as convincing as some shots do. But for the most part, I thought they looked good, especially for it being like 15 years old. And I'm going to get into my issues with the movie because I do have some problems with it. And my biggest issue with this movie would be its tone. Not entirely, but there's a part once we get to Skull Island. That's when characters are searching around like this area, like where they first enter. It's kind of treating it like a horror movie, and it kind of went too far for me personally. And most of the movie is kind of like a monster movie, like action, adventure. And there are some scenes that kind of mix a horror element to them to make them more intense, and I thought it worked successfully in specific scenes. But when it was just trying to be a horror movie, just for like 20 minutes, I found it to be really distracting, and it just felt out of place. And as if it could have been from another movie or in another movie. And my other issue with this movie would be the last hour. Not all of it, but the first 2 hours of the movie I think are really good, really solid. The story is fun to watch. The characters, well, some of them are fun, and the action is awesome, and the special effects for the most part are really good. And all of that stays pretty consistent, mostly in the first 2 hours, and it's entertaining throughout for me. Even in the third hour, it's entertaining, but once we get to that last hour, that's where things kind of go downhill for me. And I'm not going to name off specifics, but I'm just going to say that there are points within that last hour where it just gets too stupid for my liking. And it was a bit of a letdown, but about half of that last hour I liked. The other half I really don't like. And that's about all I have to say about King Kong from 2005. It's a good movie. I don't hate it at all. I will rewatch this movie despite it being 3 hours long, and I'm curious to check out the extended edition just to see what it's like, and I would recommend you watch this movie as long as you're aware that it is 3 hours long, because it's a movie you kind of have to plan your day around. So just keep that in mind, that it is a long movie. And personally, I didn't mind it, but for many people, that's going to be an issue. And definitely check this movie out once you get the chance. And I'm going to give King Kong 2005 a 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos as always. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of King Kong 2005, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for I Know What You Did Last Summer, so look forward to that. But until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.